The Chinese government is hoping this summer's Olympics in Beijing will showcase the best of the nation as a destination for business, tourism and the arts.
But so far, most of the headlines have been nothing but bad publicity. Weeks of unrest in Tibet has led to a series of arrests in the province. Fu Ying is the Chinese ambassador to the UK. I'm glad she's joined us here on Breakfast. Thank you very much for joining us. We really appreciate that. 2008 was meant to be a really important year for China. Are you worried? We've seen these images that the whole year will be tarnished by them.
First, thank you very much for having me here. I watch you a lot. About your questions, yes and no. To some extent, as far as I'm concerned, I'm very worried. Because for days, for weeks, people talk about Beijing Olympics as if it's a United Nations head of state conference responsible for solving all the international, all the domestic problems. But for China, it's not, it's sports. In China, on the Chinese television, it's running all about sports. Every weekend, the top athletes are shown, and their competitors. Their competitors are also introduced to the Chinese public. The Chinese public are warming up to have the top of the world's competitions in China. But the unrest, yes, please.
Sorry to interrupt you, but so you're trying to say that you're trying to keep sport and politics apart, but in this day and age, and even back in the 1970s, that wasn't the case, and that wasn't the case either for China.
Right. For politics, there is a lot more awareness about the importance of politics, and there are a lot more better means of solving political problems. But you don't solve it on the football ground. You don't solve it on in a swimming pool. For the domestic problem in China, China is a big family, 56 ethnic groups, and there are always problems. And every country has its own problem. You have Heathrow today. But China, we are trying to solve the problem somehow.
Okay. Let's just talk specifics then. You say you're trying to solve the problem. With what's going on in Tibet, what are you trying to do to solve that problem?
First, stop violence. Stop violence. People died, and people are angry. And people are angry with the way it's presented. I think that the most important thing China wants to do is to calm down the people. And China heard the complaint that the international journalists were not there. Actually, they were there. The stories came out, and quite a few people were there, ABC economists, and there were lots of international international tourists who came out. But now, okay, we sent the journalists, first group, and there was some disruption. There were angry monks. Fine, we understand they are angry. They want independence. They're not getting it. However, as long as they didn't throw stones on the journalists, fine. And we are sending the diplomats soon. Okay.
So why not, though, give free access to journalists, for example, so that we can go there and we can independently see what is going on?
Perhaps for China, when an event occurred, there is not as good a way of controlling a crowd, a difficult situation as you can do. So to protect people from getting hurt is the first concern. Everybody in Lhasa was told when it occurred, everybody was told to stay indoors.
Let's just talk about the fundamental issue there as well and solving that. Is the Chinese government going to speak to the Dalai Lama?
Speaking with the Dalai Lama, the Premier said in the press conference, also to the Prime Minister, that we'll have dialogue as long as he's not asking for independence. You know, independence is always a sensitive thing in China with all those ethnic groups. We don't want to split up the country. As far as Dalai Lama's dialogues with China, I don't know whether you know that the dialogue started in the 70s, and he was invited to come back to China in the 80s, and since then the dialogue has been going on. There are some difficulties, but the door has never been closed in spite of the recent violence.
OK, let's just talk specifics as well. The Olympic torch is due to be in Tibet. What will happen then? How much security will you put in place, and will you let the media have free access to see that?
The media part, I think, I'm not quite familiar with, but the torch will certainly go to Tibet. It'll be very odd. I think most of the people in Tibet will get hurt if the torch goes everywhere in China except for Tibet. As far as security is concerned, it shouldn't be. There shouldn't be such violence because of the region. I have a feeling watching the violence, watching the way it's presented, I think they are more interested in making a scene. They are more interested in making a point. OK, and let's also talk on a more positive note in some ways about the Olympics. The Chinese people, how do they feel about the Olympics coming to their country in 2008 in August? Great. Everybody's excited. The grandmas are learning English in the community classes in case they bump into a visitor. The torch relay is very important. Everybody watched it in Greece. And on the 6th of April, the torch is going through London. I was with the police yesterday. I was very impressed the way the plan was made. It's going to give the maximum opportunity for the Londoners to get a feeling of the Olympics. Many of them are not coming to Beijing. And more importantly for me, it's going to give the maximum opportunity for Chinese to see London, what London is. There's lots of stereotype impression of London. Men are in black coat with the umbrella. So they will see a lot. I was walking through those places. I was very excited. I would be very pleased if lots of people could see what I see. About 100 million people would be there gluing to the camera, the television scene, trying to see London. Many of them have never seen London. OK,
well, thank you very much. It's been very nice of you to come and talk to us here on Breakfast. Madam Fu, thanks very much. And as you say, it's on April the 6th, the torch is coming to London.
This is the mascot, and this is for Tibet. This antelope is for Beijing.
I get one as well. Thank you very much.
China is so multinational, and we can't agree on the mascots, so we have to have 5. This is 2 of them.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks for your time, Madam Fu. Thank you.
Nice to meet you. It is, what, 8:18. Let's get the weather from Carol.